What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders Awakened. Today we're going to take a look at base game difficulty modifiers. Now, what I'm talking about is the difference between Insane Mode, Nightmare Mode, Massacre, etc., as each difficulty tier has a specific set of modifiers that apply to that difficulty with your hero and your defenses. This is all going to start at Insane Mode and work its way up from there. However, everything in Insane Mode is kind of considered 1.0. It's the 100% value, it's the total value you would have, and all modifications are based off of the figures you get here in Insane. Now, this information is not found anywhere in the game, so to get this info, you'd have to do one of two things: either bust out your trusty calculator or do a little bit of data mining. Let's hop into it and take a look at the numbers. Now, first things first, we've got hero damage. Now, I'm not going to go through each individual line item here. I will put screenshots of the mined information up on the screen, though. Let's just run through the biggest aspects. Now, we've got range damage. Now, I'm referring to a hero that you would want to stack some attack value on, and then when you upgrade the weapon, you would be upgrading into ranged damage. This is going to give you that physical damage number, and we are going to start right there. So, hero damage or range damage on Insane Mode is kind of its 1.0. So, this is that 100% value. This particular hero here is putting out about 90 million DPS in Insane Mode. Well, what happens if I switch it over to Nightmare? Well, if we do the exact same hero, same weapons and everything, now we see we're down to about 14 million damage in Nightmare Mode. Now, the reason we are less damage in Nightmare Mode is, of course, because we are getting nerfed for the Nightmare Mode. So all ranged hero damage in Nightmare Mode is going to be at a rate of 15.5%. So you're only going to do 15.5% of the damage that you would do in Insane Mode on Nightmare difficulty. Now, if we go ahead and up that to Massacre, and now we see even a lower number. Yep, we get hit one more time in Massacre, and ranged hero damage, or just hero damage in Massacre Mode, is a rate of 5.4%, meaning that you're going to do 5.4% of the total range damage of the value you would have in Insane Mode. Now, this is true for elemental weapons as well. This, of course, would be referring to a weapon that you upgraded the element on. So a monk, if you were playing on the monk, on the dragoon, you're going to be better off going into elemental damage because it has massive elemental scaling. It takes a lot of attack stat to even out. So like on the dragoon. Now, elemental damage is going to be nerfed as well, but if we take a look here in Insane Mode, we are dishing out what? We're dishing out about 25 million ish, 24 million, 25 million DPS. Now, if we jump that up to Nightmare Mode and take a look, and now we're dishing out about, what, 3.8 to 4 million DPS. And this is because elemental damage in Nightmare Mode is getting scaled down to 15.5%, the same as hero damage in the Nightmare difficulty. So in Nightmare Mode, we're only doing 15.5% of the elemental damage that we would be doing in Insane. Now, what happens when you jump up to Massacre? Oh, we got a gain instead of a reduction, and that is because elemental damage is not nerfed as hard in Massacre Mode, and in Massacre, you're going to do 42% of the Insane Mode damage value is the elemental damage that you will put out in Massacre Mode. So hero damage in Massacre is 5.4%, elemental damage is 42%. Now, you shouldn't really use that as your deciding factor of whether you go range damage or elemental damage. Do that based off of the gear you have and the hero you're playing. However, it does tell you why these values scale down. Now, additionally, on this same hero, we take a look at my health bar up in the top left. I've got 23.05k hero health, so 23,000 HP basically. Now, my hero health is going to be scaled way up in Nightmare and Massacre at a rate of 775.5%. So my hero health value is going to go up almost 8 times in Nightmare and Massacre, and this holds the same value for both modes. So when I switch it up to Nightmare, we see I'm now at 178,000 health. Jump it up to Massacre, and it stays the same. So your health is going to go way up, and your damage is going to go way down when you go from Insane to Nightmare, and finally to Massacre mode. Now, what does this do for your towers, as it does affect every single tower in the game? First off, let's start off with the walls. So this would apply to the Apprentice, the Squire, and the EV. Anything that is a blockade type defense at Insane mode is going to have its 1.0 value. We see this particular EV, we've got 192.4 thousand health on our physical wall here. If we go ahead and jump that up to Nightmare mode and take a look at it, it's now going to be 312.6k. So we do get quite a big buff on tower health, and the blockade health, it is 62.5%. So you're getting a 62.5% buff to all of your walls in Nightmare and in Massacre mode. Now, there are a lot of defenses that are kind of looped together in this particular pool. However, there are a lot of individual standout defenses as well. But let's take a look at the Apprentice and the Squire. The Apprentice and the Squire are going to be on the same scaling as the tower health, really. And that is the Apprentice and Squire damaging towers are going to get a damage increase. So these are going to get a 62.5% buff as well in Nightmare and Massacre mode. So we see here we're hitting for 416,000 on Insane mode. If we jump that up to Nightmare and take a look, now we're hitting for 676,000, as we did get that 62.5% damage buff for being in Nightmare or Massacre mode. Monks get smacked particularly hard in Nightmare and Massacre mode. Although they do get some damage buffs, they also get some big range reductions. Now, range, of course, is a big part of a monk and a monk's auras. There's no doubt about it. In Insane mode, we'll take a look at this electric aura. Now, this particular electric aura, you see the range on it is 11.08 meters as an effective range. This, of course, is in Insane mode. Now, we are going to get a little bit of a nerf here, a 30% nerf down to 70% total range in Nightmare mode. So if we switch it to Nightmare mode and we take a look at the range now, we're down to 7.75 meters of an effective range in Nightmare mode. Now this changes once again in Massacre, but it gets a little bit of a buff upward. And the range in Massacre is only 75%. So it's a 30% nerf in Nightmare, a 25% nerf in Massacre to aura ranges. Now additionally, the electric damage coming off of the electric aura gets a buff in Nightmare and in Massacre mode. So we see here in Insane mode, we're hitting for 6887. This is our base 1.0 value. If we switch it up to Nightmare mode, we're going to get a 12.5% damage buff. And we see the range goes down, but the damage goes up to 7747 a tick. And then if we change that up to Massacre, we're going to get a huge damage buff, as Massacre electric auras get a 75% damage buff. Not quite double damage, but almost, just for using electric auras in Massacre mode. Now, without a doubt, one heavy-duty, serious MVP in Nightmare and up, really, in Dungeon Defenders Awakened is without a doubt the gas trap. The gas trap is just ridiculously good. It's your crowd control. It's going to shut down a lane. Now, gas traps are so effective, they decided they needed to be toned down a bit for Massacre mode. So in Insane and in Nightmare mode, gas traps are going to have their set values. You see it lasts for 61.78 seconds, and it resets in 2.64 seconds. This is the same for Nightmare as well, but if we jump it up to Massacre difficulty, oh yeah, well you saw the range of these bad boys get smacked way, way down, but now look and see it only lasts for 15 seconds, and it has a 5-second reset time. So yep, gas traps definitely get the smackdown in Massacre mode. The Deadly Striker Tower is no different in that regard as far as range and rate. So if we look at our rate here, we're attacking every 0.75 seconds, and our range is just over 45 meters. Well, this applies in Insane mode and in Nightmare mode. However, if we jump it on up to Massacre difficulty, we take a look then, and now we see the rate has dropped down to 1.12 seconds, and the range has dropped to 31.55 meters. Now, the reason here is the DST is super strong, and in Massacre it needed just a little bit of a smackdown. So in Massacre, your Deadly Striker Tower range is reduced by 30%, down to a total of 70%, and your tower attack rate is straight up doubled. So you're going to have slower hitting, shorter range DSTs in Massacre mode than you have in Nightmare or Insane. So hopefully this helps answer some of the questions of why you see these various number changes. As I mentioned, I will throw the modifiers up on the screen, and any of the modifiers I did not cover in this particular video. However, lots of things get adjusted down for Massacre and Nightmare mode in Dungeon Defenders Awakened. So that will do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to click that like button, and please subscribe to the channel, and I will be back soon with some more Dungeon Defenders in all of its various forms and flavors. Thanks again, y'all. I will see ya next time around. Take it easy.